Hey everybody, it's Tony the Blacksmithing Gamer, and here we do everything from blacksmithing to 3D printing to bring the things inside the video games into the real world. This week, the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance comes out, and in honor of that, we're making the Dual Glaive. Let's get started. I'll show you how we made it.
Thra, no! What have they done? Avarice unchecked for an age. Evil takes root. Darkness spreads. But from this dark light, brighter than the three suns, they spark to life. Heroes of Thra, strong and brave. Strength and bravery alone will not save Thra. No! Unlock your true potential. Unite as one! Only together can you defeat what is to come. Heroes of Thra. You're going to need all the help they can get.
So I just realized to be careful when you're taking off your support material. If you print it the way I did, I just broke off the very tip of this guy, unfortunately, but it still looks okay. I'm going to patch it up a little bit, but just be careful of that. So most of the Dual Glaive is actually fitting together really solid. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually just going to do a little bit of surface epoxy just to harden it, just to make sure it doesn't come apart. A few of the pieces I'll put a little bit of epoxy in between them, but for the most part it's I'm starting to get pretty good on my tolerances, I think, with a minor amount of sanding or filing. I think they fit together pretty much like a glove. So you know, if you print it, you don't have to use too much glue or epoxy here. So here's to getting better. Also, a few people have asked me what's the best thing to use for gluing things together. Personally, I use two-part epoxy. This is 5-minute stuff. I get this at the local dollar store. It's really cheap. You can get it at pretty much any hardware store. Yeah, just be mindful when you're using the 5-minute stuff. You press it down, you mix it together, and then you got 5 minutes to apply it everywhere you need to before it hardens. And I think the advantage to using this stuff opposed to super glue and a bunch of others is that it does have a little bit of flexibility, so it'll actually kind of, if you're swinging it around, I mean, you're not going to hit stuff and it's not going to be invincible, but other than, I found super glue is really brittle, while this has a little bit of flex in it, and I find it holds just a little bit better than most other things. So keep that in mind with your projects. If you're using anything to stick two things together, I find this stuff works really good. Just be aware and make sure it is it has the ability to bond to plastic if you're 3D printing stuff or anything else. Make sure it bonds to the material you're using. It usually says right on the packaging. So for the pommel of this guy, I recommend printing it in 2 halves. That way you could actually print the crystal part separately. I might also recommend a different infill if you're 3D printing it, because the grid pattern kind of sticks out if you're using a clear filament like me, but it gets the point across. I'll light it up and show you guys what it looks like. I might give it a little bit of purple haze, but yeah, so basically I just have the crystal sitting in there like that. Just to show you, it fits in pretty much perfectly. You close it up with the other side and then just glue it together and attach it to the handle here. I left a hole firstly for people if they want to use any LEDs or electronics, so they could kind of put it all in there, and also with the 2 pieces of the Dual Glaive, if you want, you could put a dowel in here. That way they could come apart, they could go together, and a dowel just gives it a little bit extra security so that you can put it all together easier, opposed to kind of holding it together and it might come apart. So we'll put this guy aside for paint because I still want it to be clear, and we'll paint these guys. Alright, so what I did here is I used some auto body putty to basically fill in some of the seams just to hide them a little bit. I'm gonna let that dry and sand it and give it some more paint, primer and paint, and then we'll be off to detail work. So we got the sanding done. We're ready for the next coat of primer, and then we're going to do some paint and detail work. Alright, so we got the Dual Glaive all printed, painted, and now I'm just going to do some of the detail work, including painting the gem and attaching it to the pommel, along with attaching the pommel to the blade, and then making sure the dowel fits and all the detail work's done on the glaive. let's get going. Real quick, I'm still trying to get my first 1,000 subscribers, so if you enjoy my content and want to support me, hit that subscribe button down there below. I got my handle wrap material here again, and I'm just going to cut a strip off of it, and we're going to put it on the handle. So a few notes about the Dual Glaive. I did make it in 2 pieces, so you do have the option of taking it apart. It's a tight fit, but you do have the 2 pieces that come apart. So I did put a hole in the hilt so that you can put a dowel in there if you just wanted to, for example, put any extra support. Like I said, it is a pretty tight fit on the blade here, and you'll have to make it a little bit shorter. The crystal portion of things, that hole goes all the way to the end, so that if you wanted to put a light in there, you definitely can to light that crystal up. All in all, I think it came out really well. I like the design, it's a really cool design. Yeah, let me know what you think. If you like this design, if you liked the build, leave a comment in the comment section down below. We're continuing our cosplay segment this week. Check out this week's cosplayer. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button down there below. Or if you want to follow me in any of these social media websites, you can get daily updates on the projects I'm working on. Thanks again for watching. I'm Tony, the Blacksmithing Gamer, where every week we're making things from the games we love.